What's up, everybody? Matt Gajewski here, back again talking college basketball. It is Monday, March the 24th. We have the first and second round of the NCAA tournament behind us, but college basketball action is not ending. The CBI is on tonight. We have the NIT the next couple days as well, so we will briefly touch on those games. Before we get started, thank you to anybody who's left a comment, subscribed, or like the videos over the last couple of weeks. We've seen a lot of growth. We are just over 100 subs away from hitting 1,000, which has been the goal since we started this in early February. So thank you if you've supported. And if you'd like to, those are great ways to do so. And I appreciate you and your time if you've done any of that. All right, we have the CBI, and we have a 3-game slate for the CBI. Some of these teams are coming from low conferences, so we'll do our best to break them down in depth. First up, we have a game between Incarnate Word and Jacksonville. This game comes in with a spread of 3.5 points in favor of Jacksonville, and the total in the game sits at 141. As far as injuries go, Incarnate Word, Layman Salabali, he missed their last game, and they had to play yesterday. So this is a weird structure in the CBI. They do buys. So Jacksonville didn't play yesterday, but Incarnate Word did. Overall, Incarnate Word is 237th power ranked. They beat Manhattan in the opening round, who's 241. And over the course of the year, this Incarnate Word team went 2-11 against top 200 teams. Their best wins came against Lamar and Southeastern Louisiana. They did lose outside the top 200 5 times, the worst of which came against Houston Christian at 276. Jacksonville comes in power ranked a bit higher. This team is 180th. The last time we saw them was in the ASUN tournament, where they lost to North Alabama by a score of 78-63. North Alabama is a great team, though. They're 109th overall. Jacksonville went 7-10 against the top 200. They had a few more opportunities than Incarnate Word, but not that many more. Their best wins beat North Alabama and Virginia Tech. Losses, 2 of them came outside the top 200. They were both to North Florida, actually. They lost to them a pair of times. But this is a little bit of a weird game. It's somewhat of a clash of styles. 330th. Incarnate Word ranks 330th in tempo. Jacksonville comes in at 175th. As far as some of the other stylistics, Incarnate Word is 214th in effective height, 128th in rebounding. Jacksonville's 144th in effective height, 90th in rebounding. They're the taller team. They have the edge on the glass. And I personally think the ASUN's a little bit of a better conference to play in as well. Shooting stuff, Incarnate Word is better on offense. For the most part, they're a better shooting team. 153rd in effective field goal, 202 in 2-point percentage, and 83rd 3-point percent. They have a lot of shooters. Jalen Anderson, Davion Bailey, and Dylan Heyman all shoot over 37% from 3. But Jacksonville is the superior defense. So you have strength on strength, weakness on weakness. Jacksonville's 119th in total defense, 135th inside, 228th defending the 3. So Incarnate Word does have potential paths to scoring, largely via the 3, because they are a 3-point shooting team. And the weakest part of this Jacksonville defense is defending the 3. So we do have some paths. On the other side, Jacksonville is 218th in effective field goal, 309th in 2-point percent, and 32nd in 3-point percent. This is another 3-point shooting team. Zimi Nolkeji and Chris Arias both hit at least 39.5% of their threes. Incarnate Word just isn't good on defense at all. They are 291st overall, 180th inside, 320th on the perimeter. So actually both teams have pretty decisive paths to scoring via just shooting the ball. Both teams can also get reckless, and a lot of turnovers could be available in this game. The other weird thing is that it's pretty even between them on that. You have Incarnate Word, 220th in turnovers committed, Jacksonville 308th. Turnovers forced, Jacksonville forces a lot more, 85th compared to 171. But overall, when you look at the margin, it actually comes out pretty even. It's another strength on strength, weakness on weakness. And then foul margin, there's almost nothing to look at there. So we make this game currently inside the 3.5 points, but I think there's a few things you could look at to suggest this should be favored by maybe 4.5. First of all, Incarnate Word played yesterday. Second of all, they have an injury, Layman Salabali. That doesn't mean Jacksonville's healthy. We haven't seen them play yet. And that's a big thing with these low-level tournaments to begin with. Some guys are going to hit the portal. Some guys have been dealing with nagging injuries. throughout the conference tournament and the latter part of the season. And when you're playing in those games, they're going to gut it out. I hate saying this, but for better or worse, this game is meaningless. And we've seen a lot of players, especially in the NIT already, just phone it in and they're done for the year if they've been dealing with something like this. So having not seen Jacksonville play, we just don't know if they have anyone in that situation. Incarnate has played, and only Salabali missed the game. So that's at least worth noting. And then the other thing here is I think the ASUN's just a better conference overall. So you do have the better competition overall on the Jacksonville side. As far as a play in this game, I will lean the Jacksonville side, but it is not my favorite CBI game of the day. And that's because my next one is Army takes on Florida Gulf Coast. This game, excuse me, this game is a 9.5 point spread in favor of Florida Gulf Coast. The total is 151. There are some injuries on both sides. Army's Josh Scovin missed their last game. Florida Gulf Coast, Ramir Barno missed their last game. Both of those players are contributors, and that's important. As far as the stylistics in this game, Army played in the first round of the CBI. They beat Elon. Elon phoned it in. They didn't have 3 of their starters. Elon typically is ranked 208th in overall power rankings, whereas Army is 319th, but Elon just didn't even show up to the game. I don't know why they had accepted their invitation. Anyway, outside of that game, Army went 1-3 against the top 200. Their best win was against the UTSA. They did lose outside the top 300 twice to Binghamton and Boston. Florida Gulf Coast, the last time we saw them was in the ASUN tournament because of the bye structure in the CBI. They're 174th overall, and they lost to Queens in their most recent game, who's a great team. Queens almost upset Lipscomb, actually. They went to OT. Overall, Gulf Coast went 4-10 against the top 200. Their best win against number 117 FAU, but they also beat 109 North Alabama, beat Jacksonville twice too. They only lost outside the top 200 4 times. The worst one came against Austin P at 277. Army is a tiny team. They're 339th in effective height, 299th in rebounding. Florida Gulf Coast is 293rd in effective height, which is also small, but still bigger than Army. However, they're 66th in rebounding, and they particularly excel at defensive rebounding. So that is a big advantage for Florida Gulf Coast right away, outside of all the competition stuff. This is just a vastly more difficult level of competition in the ASUN that Florida Gulf Coast has played against. And that's evidence in power rankings. I mean, we're talking 174 versus 319 here. Shooting-wise, Army is 242nd in effective field goal, 143rd in two-point percent, 318th in three-point percent. They also shoot a ton of threes. They're 110th in three-point rate. So this is a tiny team that knows they're limited inside and is trying to shoot threes with bad three-point shooters. I guess it is a path, kind of. Florida Gulf Coast is 213th in total defense, 96th inside, 257th defending the three. Honestly, Army's worse at shooting threes than Florida Gulf Coast is defending the three. So this is a mismatch in favor of Gulf Coast. From there, Gulf Coast is 59th in effective field goal, 63rd two-point percent, 71st three-point percent. Rory Stewart's hitting over 40% of his threes. A few others coming over 36%. Army's 313th in total defense. They're horrible everywhere. Turnover margin does favor Army, but neither team forces a lot of them. Foul margin does not project to play a significant role. But the reason I still like an under in this game is you have Florida Gulf Coast coming in at 290th in tempo, and then Army coming in at 153rd, coming off essentially no rest, having played yesterday. As far as the overall tempo change, if you look at recent play, there's not much to really talk about. Army is still 150 range, and Florida Gulf Coast has picked up their pace a little bit, but not enough to really worry anything here. We make this well under the 151, and we actually hit some unders in the first and second round of the NCAA tournament, so hopefully not as cold as I've been on unders in previous weeks. But if you were looking at a side, for me, it is Florida Gulf Coast or pass. I know we are making it slightly inside that number, but I'm not taking any points with Army in a game like this. If anything, the points, because of the pace, maybe work in your favor. But with the injuries to Scovins, Barnos, just going to play an under here with this game. Before we move on, if you or somebody knows a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Must be 21 or older to play in most areas. And we have a Discord. We're projecting every game, sides, and totals, including these games. We're also doing player props, including these games. Points, rebounds, assists, steals, blocks, minutes, you name it, we have it. We have options, no long-term commitments, 1 week for $10, 1 month for $30. So it is not too late. And if you've done that, thank you. It does mean a lot. Queens takes on Cleveland State. I don't know, is this just the ASUN tournament and friends? Kind of seems like it. Queens is a 3-point underdog to Cleveland State. It is a 145.5 total. A couple injuries on both sides. Queens, Jackson Pollard missed their last game. Cleveland State's been without Reese Robinson for a while, but he is way less impactful than Pollard. Overall, Queens is 201st in total power rankings. They defeated Northern Arizona in the opening round of the CBI. Who's just not a very good team. They're 251. Queens went 4-12 against the top 200. Their best win came against Lipscomb at 88, but they lost outside the top 200 twice in North Florida and Austin Peay. Cleveland State, the last time we saw them was in the Horizon League tournament where they lost 56-54 to Youngstown State. They went 5-7 in the top 200, beating Oakland, Robert Morris, IPFW twice in Milwaukee. They lost outside the top 200 3 times. The worst one came against Morehead State at 327. This is a clash of styles. Queens is 110th in tempo. Cleveland State is 277th. But that mark has changed a little bit since we look at conference play roughly January 1st. Cleveland State has dropped to 302, and Queens comes in at 134. So there's a little bit of a difference there. Both teams have slowed their pace significantly over the last 2 months since about the time conference play started. Queens is 120th in effective height, 123rd in rebounding. Cleveland State is 219th in effective height, 196th in rebounding. The edge on the glass comes Queens' direction. And Queens is the better shooting team overall. 104th in effective field goal, 114th to 2-point percent, 129 3-point percent. They're 66th in three-point rate, too, so they're going to shoot a ton of threes. Leo Colomero, Chris Ashby, Yoav Berman all hit over 36% of their threes. Cleveland State does have the better defense between the two teams. They're 111th, but they're 221st defending the three versus 128th inside. That's going to give you a path for Queens to shoot the ball over the top in this game. On the other side, Cleveland State 259th in effective field goal, 241st in 2-point percent, 238th in 3-point percent. This team just can't shoot. Fortunately, they're facing the weaker defense with Queens coming in 231st in total D, 201st inside, 240th defending the perimeter. Both teams turn the ball over a ton, but there's a difference in turnovers forced. Cleveland State is 8th. Queens is 259th. And both teams, I mean, this is just outside the top 230 in turnovers committed. So you're going to see a lot of turnovers in this game. And probably you're going to see Cleveland State generating more. I'll slightly favor Queens, but it's not crazy. This is another one where an under does make sense, especially with the change in pace and both teams getting slower through the season. But even there, you have a strength on strength situation, weakness on weakness. What wins out? Queens can definitely shoot the ball, but they're shooting into the better part of Cleveland State. Their defense, I will say, if you parse that, Cleveland State's still weaker defending the three, so maybe that is a point against an under. But then on the other side, Cleveland State doesn't shoot the ball well at all, nor does Cleveland State defend well at all. So what wins out? You're getting a couple extra points of value here, so I'm okay with an under, and this is one that's probably going to end up on the card. I'm just going to wait and see where this goes throughout the day. I will say if it goes up, it's going to be much more likely to be a bet. If it comes down, I will probably pass with this just being the CBI. But thank you guys for watching. We'll do some NIT CBI stuff throughout the week, and I'll try to get whatever Sweet 16 videos out. Not sure if I'll do those as one or break them up, but we'll try to have those out as early as possible so you can digest it before the games. But thank you. Good luck. We'll see you later.